In this video, we're going to cover how to bring in audio to do lip sync with, or just to simply sync up our animation with, as well as bring in video, or at least an image sequence. So if we want to rotoscope animation or a person, or just use it for reference, we have it available inside our scene to work with. So we'll start off with animation. And what I did was before the video here that we're watching, I went and recorded myself in my living room saying the line, "Wow, that's amazing." And I did a bunch of different takes, gave myself some options when I came back to editing, which I recommend you do if you record yourself doing stuff. Don't do it once, try it multiple times. And that way, like me, you could go and pick the one that disgusts you the least um, when you get in here to Premiere. So I edited this down to this one clip here.
Wow, that is amazing. Wow.
Okay, so yeah, that's the one that makes me least sick of my acting abilities with that lovely face right there. But from here, I could export out an image sequence with the video, and I could export out audio. Now, you don't need to start with a video sequence if you want to just do the audio portion of the lip sync. Whatever you could get, MP4, MP3, WAV. I think MP4 is video too. But anyway, you could bring those in. You don't need the video part to do this. So if you could just get an audio sample, that should come in here. There may be some issues with the file format, so you might have to try some different formats, but I'm pretty sure WAV works here. So I'll run through real quick kind of how I did this. After bringing it in Premiere, made sure my video size was at 1280 by 720, the size I recorded the video at. As far as the image sequence, I'd set the style to ping. Ping seems to work pretty well. Down here, making sure my height and width are the same as my actual video. And I want to have export sequence here checked on, and that will actually export out a series of images based on my video rather than just a single image if I didn't have that checked on. Also, I want to make sure I have it at frame rate. This video is actually at, I believe, 60 frames a second, but 30 should be fine. That's what I'm animating in. If I was animating in Maya in 24 frames a second, that's how many frames I need to export. This setting needs to match what frame rate you're animating in Maya. I think everything else is okay. Oh, naming. So Maya wants a specific convention for its naming convention, and so what you want is, so I'll call this amazing dot or period, say 001 period. And what I'm doing here is putting in frame padding. Frame padding tells this is what Maya looks for, and it actually alphabetizes things by the first number. So when you say 1, 100, 1000, 10, Maya looks at those all come first. All those numbers come first before 2, 20, 2000, 2 million, as far as it's concerned, because it starts with a 1 rather than it being a bigger number. So frame padding helps. So if you had, so 2 zeros gets us all the way to the 100 place. So as soon as we hit 1000, now we're back in trouble. So if my frame rate was over 1000, I'd have to have 3 zeros in front of there. If we never went above 100, I'd only need 1 zero. That's what frame padding does, is just how the software looks at it. So you'd want to save in that format. To get the audio out of here, I just switch over to Windows Waveform. Name is whatever, and the default settings seem fine on here. And I just hit export. But I've already gone and done that. And you could do this too. You could do it from, if you have Premiere, do it from Premiere. I'm recording Camtasia, I could do it in there. If you have Final Cut Pro on a Mac, that works too. If you need something a little bit more affordable, there's QuickTime Pro. You can just go download QuickTime and then buy it through there. It's like $30, I think. Or better yet, there's probably free packages out there on sites like download.com that you could find that will give you a trial or something free to go do this part with if you need something for the video. And you can try it on there. It might take a little bit of hunting, but I know I've been in pinches before where I'm working somewhere and we need a sequence for something I'm working on, but we don't have any software for it, and just downloaded something. But off the top of my head, I don't know what's a good option. So it might take some trying some software out, but there are free options. Though, if $30 is not a big deal to you, I recommend QuickTime Pro. It's a great program. So bringing in our audio is really easy. It's just file import, and as long as the file format works, there's no problem with the audio. And I guarantee you guys I'm going to stutter like crazy as I'm talking here because I'm going to be trying to talk over listening to myself as I scrub now. Get my timeline to something 200. And if I scrub in here,
Wow, that is amazing.
and it's kind of a choppy version playing back. It's trying to play real time, but it's only playing for that one frame. It may not show up here by default, so if it doesn't, you'll have to right click on your timeline, go to sound, and it may be on off, but you should be able to select in here. Also, you can only play one audio clip at a time, so if you have multiple audio clips you're trying to sync up, just because of the way it got chopped up or edited out, you can load them up, but you only play one at a time. So if I had multiple tracks in here, they'd be listed underneath the amazing one, so I could pick different audio tracks and swap between them. Now, if I want to adjust this, I could go, adjust the timing. Say I don't want it to start on frame 0. Say I want it to start on frame 10 or 40. So we'll go to Window, Animation Editors, and Tracks Editor. And generally, Tracks Editor is safe for like things like motion capture. When you're importing an animation clip and you need to be able to edit it, this is where you typically start. But this is also where audio happens to come in. And you see we're starting on frame 0 right here. But if I want, I could move this off. And you may even be able to edit it in here. I'm not sure. I haven't messed with this in a long time. I hardly ever actually come in here. This is the only time I usually come in is messing with audio. So you may be editing here, but I'd recommend probably editing in something else. But you could change the placement for sure. And if you have multiple tracks, they'd be placed throughout here, so you could place where they go. So we'll say I'm happy with that. The other thing is playing it back. So let's see if this plays back by default.
Wow.
Okay, so mine will play back by default, and the reason it will is because my playback speed. It's on real time. If I have it on anything else, that won't work. So real time is trying to play everything in real time. So if Maya has to skip frames to make it play real time because your scene's that complex, it will. Play every frame free will say, hey, I want to see every single frame of this animation, even if you have to play at 1/10 of the speed to be able to render it all. And then play every frame max real time is kind of a in between the two of we're trying to achieve this, but I'm trying to play as many of the frames as possible. Somewhere in between there. But you can see on any of these other ones, nada. So I can't hear any sound there. So if you don't hear any sound, you need to make sure you're on real time. But now I can play back through. Not only can I scrub to kind of get a sense of the syllables. So that part's wow. If I play it back real time, I could kind of see where it lines up.
Wow, that is amazing.
So there's our audio. We have audio in. We can start to work with that. We can start to sync up our animation to it. And so I know here's where I start to say the word. Here's me making the W sound for wow, the O face. Here's where I start to open my mouth wide, ow, the w, ow, and kind of back to a narrow mouth shape there. So I just go and set my keys for my mouth while doing that. But let's say I'm not super experienced at animation. I need more of a reference. And by the way, always use a reference. You know, your brain is horrible at remembering what things actually look like. Whether you're modeling stuff, get tons of pictures of the thing you're modeling. If you're animating stuff, get tons of video references. You live in a day and age with YouTube being as ubiquitous as it is. There should be no reason you can't find a reference for the thing you're animating. In a day and age where everybody has cameras on their cell phone, there's no reason you can't get a video of somebody acting out the thing that you're trying to do. So always get a reference. So we're going to make a video reference here. And I can do it a couple ways. I can make a polygon plane in the background and throw this video on as a texture. But what I prefer to do is make a camera. And I can do this on any camera, but I'm going to make my own custom camera just for this. We go into perspective, panels perspective, and select my camera, so I'm looking through it, and zoom out here. And so place my camera, and you see the attribute editors open for this camera. If it wasn't just, I've got the camera selected by default. If it wasn't, again, if I'm just in the camera, I could either go and click on it in the outliner, or since I'm looking through it, I could do view select camera, which is the same as doing that. I'm going to open up the attribute editor for it, and you can see down here as I scroll all the way down under environment, there's something called image plane. And I'm going to click create here. I'm only going to do this once. This is the one time I'm going to do this, and this makes this big square box here. And I can attach a picture to this. So often when I'm modeling, I'll just throw a single image in here, and that's where my reference goes. And that way I can always have it no matter where I'm looking at the model. So I can rotate around, and I don't have to keep rotating around that reference picture, or I don't have to make Maya smaller so I can see the picture happening over here and lose workspace because of it. And that's what I like about this. So we're going to go ahead and load up my first image here. And you can see Premiere exported out a weird way, and I'm sure there's some way to fix this. I just don't know. Oh, you know why? Because I put 001 instead of starting with 1. Huh. Alright, well, we'll run with this. If I had just named it 00 instead of 001, then it wouldn't have done all this. But you can see it's adding a 001 on front of everything and padding it after that. And it's even seems to be giving a frame padding of itself. There's probably a setting in there somewhere for that, but I haven't done this in so long that I don't remember where it is. But we'll work with this, because this will actually create a weird little thing that will be kind of confusing if you don't know what's going on. But we could work with this, and it'll actually bring me into the second part. So I'm going to scrub through this.
Wow, that's amazing.
And you can see nothing happens. And the reason for that is I need to turn on this little guy right here, use image sequence. And now it's going to play, but it's not going to play probably how you expect. So notice we got nothing going on yet. And it started on frame 100. So why is that? Well, where does my frame actually start right there? Because my naming convention kind of screw up. Again, if I just named this 00 instead of 001, I would be fine here. But let's look at this little button right here. When I click on that, there's an expression here running this, and what it's saying is image plane 1 dot frame extension equals frame. So it's saying is the extension of the file frame is equal to the current frame that we're on down here. So why is it starting at 100? Well, where does my first frame start? So it's saying, well, frame 100 is equal to whatever this frame is here. We're starting on 100. I don't start playing till over here. So I need to adjust that. I need to tell it to do whatever the current frame is plus 100 more so that it lines up with that. So I need to go and change that expression to deal with this. So if I go to Window, Animation Editors, and Expression Editor, I can find it in here. And this is probably what it's not on by default. It probably looks something like this by default. If I go up to Select Filter by Expression Name, I can find any of the existing expressions that are in my scene. And here's the one for the frame extension. So what I need to tell it is to add on 100 frames. And I'm going to click Edit so it updates. And now it'll start at the beginning. But I also offset my audio, so my audio starts over here. So it starts on frame 40. So I need to make up the difference. So I think that's, we need to take 40 out of there, which would be 60, because we were telling to offset by that much. So let's go 40, 41. Okay, yep, starts right there. Okay, so this is how you offset your video. So that's kind of a good thing I did that, because it actually brings that up of how to do that, or if you need to backtrack it for the same reason. Now, if you, whatever your video editing software is, if you weren't able to get this, and yours starts at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, look for free file renaming programs. There's something called batch renamers, and they'll rename whole batches of files at the same time. And some of them you could actually go in and add in that frame padding. So if you are using a free option and it doesn't give you that frame padding, look up a batch renamer of some kind. Again, there's some on download.com. You'll be able to find something, not an uncommon thing to have to do even while working, because some of the name something wrong, exports out all the, renders all these frames, and you have to load them up as a sequence, and you don't want to go remake them, so you'll just go rename them all, and you don't want to go do it by hand because that'll take forever. So now we got our video and our audio lined up, but you'll notice when I added the video, our mesh kind of disappeared here. And it didn't really disappear, it's just hidden behind my camera point. So I'm going to go back to my perspective camera. Here it is. There's my perspective camera. And my camera is actually somewhere behind that image plane. So what we're going to do is, let's see, let's go back into camera 1. I'm going to select the camera and go to the channel box. And you'll see down here image plane 1 under inputs. I'm going to select that. And I'm going to go to depth and, oh, wrong way. I need to go farther back. I think. Let me make sure I'm going the right way. I'm going to jump back over to my perspective camera. Oh, yeah, it's getting closer. There we go. And you can kind of see what's happening there now. That's another great face. Jump back on my camera. And so now this is back behind my character. I'm going to move it back just a little bit farther, just so I'm sure. So it always stays relative to the camera. That's the nice thing about an image plane. Here's the other thing. So I could rotate all around my character, and this is always fixed to the camera. So I always have it for reference. So if I need to get to the other side of my character to pose him, I can. So here's the great thing about this is, maybe I would have just done a, narrow, wide, narrow kind of O shape for WoW. Let's scrub through the video now and see what I see. So do you see that right there? So just for a second, right before I say wow, my cheeks puff out to make the W sound. So that's something I may not have noticed without this video. So that's the great thing about having a reference, is you catch little things like that. So now when I start keyframing this guy out, I know right about, so between here and there, my cheeks puff out. And I can make this more extreme on him if I need to. And they seem to go in a little bit. So this is kind of hard to see with the joints on, so let me turn those off. And that's probably too much change for one frame. So bringing it down a little bit, and maybe I'll start this back farther. But you can see where you go from here. You start posing out, start keying things one by one, and start to get that motion. Let's see how noticeable it is as I play full speed.
Wow. Wow.
Let me play back. It's skipping a little bit because I'm recording while playing this.
Wow.
So that cheek puff probably isn't even really noticeable. It probably is only like 3 frames. But it's something that'll add to the animation. There's a lot of stuff the eye catches and doesn't consciously recognize, but emotionally recognizes it in some way. And that's where Canny Valley stuff comes from, of like, I know it doesn't look right, but something looks wrong about it. I can't figure out how to fix it, but something doesn't look right about it. And so those little kind of ticks and things that, when you miss, kind of takes away from the feeling of the animation. So hopefully that gets you up to speed with how to add audio in here. Remember, we just file, import audio. Just find your WAV file. You find your I think MP3 is working here. After that, you could edit its position in Window, Animation Editor, Tracks Editor. We just made a image plane on our camera, so view, select camera, open up the attribute editor, create an image plane. Once it's already made on here, you don't have to recreate it. You just click this little button right here, and you can change what image sequence you need in here if you have multiple things you're rotoscoping or referencing as you're animating. Also, if I just wanted to pose him right over the top, I could keep him here and animate him. I think there's actually a setting for your image plane to have it locked to the camera or not. Oh yeah, attached to the camera or fixed. So now it's in a fixed spot, so well, not quite the same. But no reason I also could not put him here. And let's see, could I do this in perspective? Yeah, so I could work in here and kind of line him up too if I needed to, and just use that camera as kind of an anchor for this. So there's some options as you're doing this, as you're tracing. Maybe I'm just tracing this as much as I can, and maybe I need to turn on X-ray so I can kind of see through. Wow, that is really creepy in so many ways. Anyway, there's options for tracing, but hopefully you get the idea. And good luck, and I'll see you next lesson.